2024 has been a year of gigantic disappointments, especially when it comes to season 2 of different TV shows. Arcane season 2, I've been listening to breakdowns of that, and boy howdy is that thing just completely and totally fallen off a cliff, quality-wise, much to the behest of people that loved season 1. Well, not in the same realm of quality drop-off, House of the Dragon Season 2 did in fact underwhelm. It wasn't bad at all, it was just a notable step down from the excellent Season 1. But there is one other Season 2 that people didn't necessarily want, but when it was announced, it's like, okay, well, all the creatives are going to be back, and, you know, all of the actors that you know and love, and this isn't at least coming from the West, so there's a good chance that this one could be good, okay? In spite of a bunch of other unnecessary sequels, Squid Game Season 2 could actually be something, because we know that there are people working on this project that actually care, that there are some talented actors that we did in fact see earlier this year in the form of Jung-Jae, and he was able to flex his acting talent in an abysmal show, but at least, hey, he's going to be returning to his element. And this one could end up reversing the curse of 2024. The first time Jung-Jae stepped onto the set of Squid Game Season 2, addressed once more as player number 456, green tracksuit, he froze. Now, we didn't plan on making a Season 2, so it was like I got pulled back into hell, says the South Korean actor, because many characters had died. I vividly remembered all the pain I portrayed as my character, Sung Ji-hun. Felt a gigantic wave of trauma once again. I personally lived with those horrific emotions during the entire production. Yeah, because he's a goddamn good actor, okay? That's an invariable takeaway here. Even when he's given absolutely awful scripts to work with, but more on that in a moment. The dystopian drama captivated audiences worldwide when it debuted on Netflix 3 years ago. Holy, 3 years, huh? Interesting. Becoming a cultural phenomenon in the streamer's most watched series of all time. Season 2, out on Boxing Day, December 26th, finds Ji-hun unable to overcome his survivor's guilt as the deadly titular competition continues. Using his prize money to track down the people behind the game, he realizes he must re-enter the arena to ultimately end it once and for all. The second installment features new violent twists on the popular Korean children's games, modified rules, and more social commentary on universal motifs like sectarianism and following your conscience, a theme that defined Lee's approach to his character this season. And yeah, while he ended up getting drug back to hell for Squid Game Season 2, he won't even have to worry about the threat of another Season 2 happening, and that would be for, the previously mentioned series he was a part of earlier this year in the form of the Acolyte. Yes, and he's one of a few, at least prior to recent events, hasn't really talked about it all that much. And here's the thing, when it comes to the list of positive qualities of the Acolyte, they were definitely few and far between. But when it comes to the acting of Jung-Jae, like, everybody was on board with the fact that, he was very overqualified for the role, and he definitely brought it. Some of the standout scenes, well, there's not so much scenes as in so much as cutaways and focus on him specifically. He did a lion's share of the work. He was quite good, even though his character didn't make any sense, and he was put in some absolutely stupid situations, and his motivations betrayed him ultimately at the end. But he will not be brought back kicking and screaming to a galaxy far, far away, written by a bunch of rank amateurs. But it's funny, right? Because this expose by Vanity Fair goes live December 2nd, and that just so happens to be the exact same day that Star Wars Final Project of the Year goes live. I'm sure it's just coincidental that both of these things end up happening, mostly because the most quotable and notable section of this interview is when Lee is asked about the Acolyte, and well, I'm not going to put this all at his feet, okay, because you remember, this guy learned, okay, he had to be taught phonetically how to pronounce his lines for the role, because he's not a fluent English speaker. He definitely had a heavy accent, and for most of the time, about 90% of his line delivery, he was coherent and articulate enough to perform the role. And so if he's asked about any of this other stuff, I would imagine he's like, what happened? All I heard was like great things about my character, and it's like, oh no, there was bad things said about the cast. Yeah, that's not very good. No, that's probably not very good at all, because it's Vanity Fair conducting the interview. They're going to be poking and prodding the same way that Variety or the Hollywood Reporter does the exact same thing. They have their agenda. They have their way of pushing a certain narrative, talking about toxic fans and all of the backlash from the bigots that are out there. And as somebody who's obviously not that accustomed to dealing with the incestuous Western media. I can imagine he could be led in a certain direction. Just, it's like, okay, cool. I'm here to talk about Squid Game, not a dead project that I want nothing more to do with. Can we go ahead and do that? Anyways, Jung-Jae was shocked by the racist backlash to the Acolyte. Yeah, here's the thing, man. Okay, well, I pointed out that one of the very few bright spots from the Acolyte was his performance. One of the multitude of issues, racism, sexism, the immediate go-tos for the deranged leftists just can't reconcile the fact that it was a bad show that you guys are championing. Race and sexism is like problems 358 and 359 when it comes to the show. Yeah, there was a suspicious amount of women, but that didn't detract from the absolutely god-awful scripts, okay? Let's work with that one, okay? Because if there's backlash for anything, for the writers in the writer's room, and not just because they're blockheaded former personal assistants to Harvey Weinstein. Much has been said of Lucasfilm's shock decision to cancel the Acolyte earlier this year. A shock decision? I beg your pardon, Gizmodo? Well, I guess because, this is a studio that has been lauded for its terrible decision-making, so it not immediately renewing a second season of the Acolyte, I guess that was shocking. But hey, if this was a regular level-headed studio, there wouldn't have been a second season because nobody watched this stuff. Okay, there's also another reason that the Skeleton Crew, when it wraps up in, I don't know, a few weeks time, like if a show's streaming on a premium service and nobody's watching it, is it really even premiering? But is anybody gonna cry and make all of these hit pieces? Oh, you just didn't like the Skeleton Crew because it had a bunch of kids in it, and it's like, no, I didn't watch it because nobody cares. Literally nobody cares about that. But no, it's a shock decision when the very diverse Acolyte didn't attract a very diverse modern audience. Oh, big shock on that one. Blame everybody else except for the very obvious answer that your modern audience that you're trying to court doesn't exist. Anyways, but the studio itself, keen to move on to what's next and what's further beyond that. Interesting, but that's another story for another time. Has stayed very quiet about the specific backlash the series cast and crew endured when the show rolled out. Can you point to any specific answers or specific instances? No? Okay. Even as the cast has slowly begun to address it themselves. You had one entitled bitch just come out and say, we faced like a lot of like conservative and hyper mega backlash and like stuff like that, and things and whatever, because like it's tough and like I do the things with the acting. Thanks, Amanda. I would take your critiques a little bit more seriously if you didn't decide to make the entire controversy all about yourself by releasing a diss track against the fans. I think that would hold a little bit more water if you weren't the first side of this equation to be antagonistic. Just saying. The latest among the Acolyte stars to discuss the more vitriolic reaction to the series is Jung-Jae, who played misguided Jedi Master Soul on the show. Misguided? He did nothing wrong, except for consent to getting choked out and killed at the end of the series. That was a little bit cuckish, but that's the writers, man. He did nothing wrong. Frequently a high point among even the show's detractors. Yeah, exactly. Oh, but vitriol, right? Lee, who is preparing to return to, his role that made him a star in the West later this month on Netflix when Squid Game, returns for a second season, was just like several of the other cast members on The Acolyte, occasionally subject to racist harassment in the part of Star Wars galaxy. Really? My feelings were hurt. Oh, he received vitriolic attacks? Lee recently told Vanity Fair about the Acolyte's cancellation. Oh, darn it. Oh, no. Just about had him there. Especially for Leslye Headland. Her feelings must have hurt a lot. Because she thought that was the most important art that she's ever done, but she did a really bad job. Like, there's no other way to say it. Like, the old blockhead is a really awful writer, director, producer, showrunner. I'm sure that she could probably hold a door shut and ignore the desperate cries of a starlet that are in over her head. I bet you she's really great at that job. The actor added that he was shocked at the specifically racial undertone to some of the backlash to the series. That he was probably being presented with it the first time. Hey, did you know that there's racism that's out there? Oh, that's really bad. Oh, see, he was shocked. Okay, which was focused in particular on Amandla Stenberg's portrayal of Osha and May. She was also really bad. Like, yesterday did a video about the Snow White trailer that's out there, remarking on the woodenness of the two lead characters, but the two lead characters played by the immensely talented, trust me, I'm Leslye Headland. I know, I made this role specifically for Amandla Stenberg. She's super talented. You just didn't get to see any of that talent on screen. She was, I think, wouldn't be offensive to 2x4s. She was very loud as May and very vacant as Osha. That's about it. And she wasn't even there for a quarter of the series because she was replaced by the two kids, the two flashback episodes. Anyways, so yes, in this very disconnected interview, I can only have faith that racism will end someday, even though it's going to be hard. For some work, it takes time to gain traction, and have strong hopes that people will like it will like it as time passes. That's about the nicest way that you can address this phony controversy being brought to you. It's like, yeah, it's really bad that they face some racism. I don't like racism. Hopefully it ends. But hopefully you also like my future work. We're going to work really hard on this stuff. And, hopefully people like what they see at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm willing to give this guy the benefit of the doubt because he's not a victim blaming, or he's not a victim card pulling hack. He's just a really talented actor that doesn't really want to deal with any of this Western nonsense. But in spite of the Acolyte's cancellation and Lucasfilm's silence on both the series and the treatment of its cast and crew, oh, shut up, Gizmodo. Lee himself is hopeful. The face of the negative reaction, as long as I'm thankful, all things will work out. You see, nobody's actually giving him shit. He's just being presented with theoretical shit, which is apparently what we might be subject to because, while Disney has been awfully quiet and it was just simply a leak that, season 2, she was scrapperoonied after the ratings started to come in. Leslye Headland's floating the idea there could be a season 2, which I'm a little bit conflicted. It's kind of like how you presented me with this racism. I'm a little bit conflicted about this because on one hand, the show was really bad, but on the other, mocking modern day Disney is so high quality, and especially the Lucasfilm side of life. Like, it's just so much. It is endless fun. So if you're going to provide us such a bounty, might as well get as stupid, pants on head, retarded as you can get by greenlighting a second season of The Acolyte. Well, Deadline confirmed that Lucasfilm had canned the widely panned Leslye Headland show. Actor Manny Jacinto believes that there is still a chance it could return. Yeah, speaking at a Collider panel at San Francisco Fan Expo, Jacinto, who played, the stranger, and no, not sitting on your hand until it goes numb and then whacking your bag, Smilo Ren, in the series, was asked about the brief appearance of Darth Plagueis, in the show's final episode. Yeah, just leaning out of his goon cave, specifically. He was asked whether there was a connection with his character and the Emperor's long-dead Sith master. Oh man, that's a tough question. They're not connected. Definitely not. Oh man, how do I answer that? What time is it? It's definitely a lot of theories. Who could be there is actually know his true identity. Yeah, that's the way that they kind of addressed all these things because Leslye Headland is really bad at her job and doing any sort of world building. So yeah, there was probably this vague idea that, hey, we could throw it. What's a name that people know? What are some keys that we could jangle to potentially get a second season? Darth Plagueis. Yeah, people know the Plagueis guy, right? Oh, it's Plagueis? Yeah, sure. We don't need to say his name or anything like that. We could just kind of have him, goon out with his cone head there for a quick second, do his little floopy fingers across the way, and then just have him perv out on OSHA and Queer Mirror. That would definitely be fantastic. We should do that and then have the back of Yoda's head at the end of it. That should be more than enough fodder to get a second season. What do you mean we're canceled? But just listening to more of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, the interviews from, Leslye Headland, Amandla Stenberg, Leslye Headland's uniquely untalented wife, you get a bunch of different crazy shit that's out there, and a lot of people are still, in fact, digging into the depths of this stuff. And it's absolutely bonkers that this show, at least in the leaks, has been canceled for months, and the Access Media and crazed Disney shills just can't let it go. You guys, go and continue to punch ghosts and say that we need to defend the kids on the skeleton crew from all of those nasty bigots. Like, you can go ahead and do that, and then when the show ends with a fart, I'm sure there's going to be some eye-rolling lower breaks as you get further into the season, but outside of that, nobody's going to care, and then you're just going to invent this narrative like you have with all this racist, sexist backlash. I know there's people out there attacking kids, totally trust me, bro. And you're just going to find out in very quick succession that Star Wars is certainly dead. Almost as dead as Master Soul. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.